Welcome back, everyone. On the Do Now question for today, you're explaining why tablets were expensive and paper is cheap. You could use a lot of what we talked about yesterday when it comes to technology, labor, distribution. All those things are more complicated and more expensive when making tablets versus making paper. We're still talking about global trade. Today, we're going to look at some products and sort of the stages they have to go through from being nothing to how the resources are collected, to how they're made, to how they're sent, and how they're sold. So we'll go through several steps in talking about how products around the world are made. So the modern economy needs a lot of different steps. We need what we call innovation, research and development. We need to collect resources. We need factories. We need distribution, which is transportation. And we need customer service to sell these products. We have all these different stages we're going through. Underdeveloped countries provide the resources. Developing countries manufacture or build the products. Developed countries get to buy them. So when we talk about these global products that the whole world is contributing to making, a lot of these countries aren't as successful as others. Underdeveloped countries are definitely exploited, left in poverty, rarely buying the product, where rich countries get all the benefits. So if we look at what underdeveloped countries are doing in the global economy, they tend to be very poor. Their work tends to be very physically hard for very low pay. Think of those slaves who pick cotton in Uzbekistan, or those kids who are mining cobalt in the Congo for dollars a day. And this is common in underdeveloped countries, despite the fact that the stuff they're doing is necessary. We can't have cell phones without those cobalt batteries. We can't have clothes without that cotton. We need these countries doing it, but they get very much mistreated. They pull resources out of their environment. They destroy their environment to do it, um, poison their water, poison their air, kill their own people, all this stuff to make very little money off the resources they're collecting. And in the end, most of the people cannot afford the final product. This tends to be in places in Africa and Central Asia. So if we look at what this might look like, you can see mineral extraction. Right? They're digging into the earth to get stuff out, poisoning the water, destroying the trees, mining the ground, hurting their own physical bodies, sometimes poisoning their own bodies to get these resources. In a lot of countries, unfortunately, there's slavery involved as well. And then do now on the Pear Deck, explain to me how globalization is impacting underdeveloped countries. You can pause this video. Next, if we look at developing countries, these are countries that are in the process of modernizing. They tend to have lots of spatial inequality. They have rich and poor, extreme wealth and extreme poverty within the same country. These tend to be countries where they're doing a lot of factory work. They're building the product, they're refining the oil, they're making the clothes. Right? There's lots of factories, lots of machines. They have big cities because they need all the people collected in one spot to make the product. Lots of air pollution and water pollution here as well. Right? Those factories are not clean. The population is exploding in these countries, so they have a lot of young people who can be put to work in factories and get paid pretty bad. They're not getting like $1 a day, but they're getting like $5 a day. Still not good. This tends to be in Asia, South America, the Middle East. These are the countries that are producing a lot of the products. Here are some of those factories, oil refineries. Here's a look inside those factories, people working, making stuff. So again, on the Pear Deck, explain to me how globalization is impacting developing countries this time. Last, we have developed countries. These are countries that have completely modernized, good economic systems, healthcare, education, all that. These tend to be rich countries. Not that everyone in them is extremely rich, but even the poorest people in these developed countries is doing better than most people around the world. Right? People who are struggling in the United States are still considered on the wealthier side compared to everyone else in the world. This is where the head of companies tends to be. Right? Think about like Nike, Apple, Microsoft. Those headquarters are in countries like the United States, even though they have factories in China and India, things like that. The jobs tend to be tech jobs, customer service. They create the new technology, they design the new shoes, they do all the sort of like office work, and then they're in the stores selling the product. So, as far as like physical demanding labor, this is the easiest job, but it requires the most education and the most training, and it gets paid the best. The final product gets sold in developing countries, so phones, shoes, things like that, and it gets sold cheaper than it would otherwise have been. If this product was completely made in the United States, it'd be at least double the price. This tends to be North America, Europe, Australia, areas in East Asia, tend to be the wealthiest developed countries. They get the benefit of this whole system. There's some examples of those jobs: tech designing, writing code, or in the store selling products or doing tech support. Again, we'll explain how globalization, this time, how does it impact developed countries? For your activity today, you're going to be reading about how headphones are made. So anytime you see a location, I want you to make note of it, highlight it, or underline it. Your goal today is to create a map that shows how these products are being made, where resources come from, where they're being produced, where they're being sold, and then answer some questions about it.